case is to prove that Garrett Kopp, the shooter, the real killer in the case, lied to the police when he implicated Chris Sutton.
All right, that was defense attorney Bruce Fleischer explaining his strategy to win this murder trial. So what does he need to prove the confessed shooter Garrett Kopp acted alone? That's the big question here. Criminal defense attorney Meg Strickler is here to help us figure it all out. Meg, good to see you.
Good to see you, Ryan.
And Meg, so let's talk about Garrett Kopp first. Garrett Kopp is a convicted murderer. Garrett Kopp benefits from giving this testimony. And when you look at that, how does that harm the prosecution's case? Because after all, you just heard the defense attorney say it's kind of like, you know, he came forward, he did what he needed to do to kind of lessen his sentence. What does that tell you?
Here you have a very good defense, I think. You have the defense attorney said just the same thing. He lied to police. Cop lied to police and said, oh, this guy did it, just to kind of get him off and get the deal that he worked through to testify. In Sutton's case, he got a deal. I mean, I would cross that left and right. Hey, you got a deal, didn't you?
Yeah, but is that a winnable argument? Is that we talk about that all the time with defense lawyers. Yeah, they got a deal. I got them dead to rights. But at the same time, is that a winnable argument? Because ultimately the jury might hear this and say, well, wait a second. It kind of makes sense, and I can see how this would weigh out, even though the guy is convicted of killing.
It's not always a winnable argument, but I would definitely point it out to the jury. Hey, look, this guy's not credible. A, he's got that murder conviction going on in the background. But B, he worked with the prosecution to get a better deal, which makes him less credible. He'll say whatever the prosecution wants. That doesn't work for me. It's not credible.
You know what? What about Jose Payan? He's up there right now, and he's testifying about what Chris Sutton told him. But here's the thing, and you don't often see a case like this. The prosecution has two primary witnesses, both of whom are convicted murderers. I can't think of a worse set of facts for the prosecution. At the same time, they're building a case. They've got circumstantial evidence. And what does Jose Payan doesn't have a reason to lie here?
Well, again, I would still go to the prior convictions I would impeach him about that and say, you're a criminal yourself here. You don't have credibility. I don't believe a word you're saying. But also, more importantly, there is no physical evidence here. We have the one guy saying, hey, I did it. Then he's setting up to do it. We have nothing but circumstantial evidence. And then the two witnesses the prosecution does have are two convicted murderers. Like, I agree with you. That's not a very strong case at all.
You know, you and I were just talking about this, by the way. Jose Payan was convicted of murder when he was a juvenile. I was surprised that the prosecution brought that up because usually, at least maybe it's different in Florida, but usually those records are sealed.
Exactly. You cannot, as a defense attorney, I cannot get access to those records, period. I know the prosecution, when they're looking up defendants' backgrounds, they can see more. The FBI can too. They can see more. But how they can bring that up in a court of law, I question that too. I'm not sure how that happened. The only thing I can think of is perhaps he was convicted in the big boy court, as I call it, versus juvenile court, but was a juvenile when it happened.
Okay, that'll be critical. And if that didn't happen, it is surprising. Talk to us about Garrett Kopp's statement. And Garrett Kopp says at one point he didn't want to do it, but Christopher Sutton threatened his family, and therefore he felt like he had to do it. What did you think about that?
Oh, when I heard that, that killed me. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me at all.
Why? Maybe he actually was threatened.
I was scared he was going to kill. He's a killer. Come on. It doesn't work for me. So he's going to go kill Sutton's family? It just doesn't connect. It's not a viable, it doesn't make sense to me. Oh, I was scared, so therefore I killed this guy's family? No.
Do you think if the jury doesn't believe Garrett Kopp that it essentially unwinds the prosecution's case?
What I would do as a defense attorney in this case is I would just keep throwing things against that wall and say, you know what? None of this makes any sense. We got one guy who's saying he did do it. You got the wrong guy. Sutton didn't do it. I would just knock down, peg down everything that doesn't make sense for the prosecution. All the defense needs to show is that good old thing, reasonable doubt.
All right. But you know what? There's one other part here. Not a lot of forensics here, but at the same time, you've got Juliet Driscoll. She's going to be a witness in this trial. She is his girlfriend. We already know that she is going to say that he talked to me about killing his parents. I never thought he would go through with it, but he talked to me about it. This was the woman that he was closer to probably than anybody else, and she's going to be testifying to that fact. I got to think that's a major boon to the prosecution's case.
It's a help, but again, I would cross-examine it. We all make angry statements. We all have issues with our family. There's dysfunction everywhere. And try and tell me not one of us out there has not said they wanted to kill their parents at one point in their life. Come on. It's something I would
get
bring out.
angry. I don't think I've ever said that.
You've said very horrible things about one's family at some point. We all have. That's all I mean. You're right. I agree. I don't think I said it myself. I want to kill my parents.
That'd be terrible, man.
But I do think that we've all said things in anger, and maybe that's what he was saying, and she took it out of context. Now his parents are now, well, excuse me, the one is killed, and the other one is blinded.
All right. Meg Strickler, so good to see you.
You too.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. In addition to Garrett Kopp, there's